This is the story about the job that set me on the path to doing what I would actually be doing now. And that job was working tech support for the local cable company. Now, I don't know if you've ever called the cable company and talked to those people, but they're not having a good day most of the time. And neither did I most of the time. So, how did this job start? Well, I was 23 years old, interested in tech and audio video, and I saw an opportunity to get hired for this company and be what I thought was tech support. In reality, it was customer service. The first person that you got on the phone when you called the company. So, this job had a few weeks of training. There was, there was a lot of us in the class. We were a variety of different kinds of people. Big time. I remember the people in that class being different races, different ages, different priorities in their life. There was one dude that was working there that, like, his goal was basically to be a baller entrepreneur, but also own an expensive car. And, it's kind of an oxymoron to have a lot of money and spend a lot of money. But, this was in the early 2000s. And, it was a very weird time in my life because I wasn't quite sure what direction I was going. And I think I was making, I want to say $13 an hour as a temp. So after like 3 months, that would have actually gone up a little bit. This was the kind of job where they had you on a regiment. Like, when you were supposed to be on the clock, the computer was watching. So the computer knew, which is the time clock also, by the way. It knew if you were logged in on time or not. And the amount of minutes you were late is kept up with and tracked, and everybody knows. Like, it's a score that you get. So it's actually a lot of underlying stress just to hit the perfect amount of minutes or whatever. And I think 1 month or paycheck or whatever I did, I think I did like 3, something like that. This job was good in the sense that it was really great exposure to being able to talk to people and helping them understand something without seeing anything at all. I'm just using words. And yes, it was customer service. Yes, people were calling because their cable was out or they had a problem or whatever. But I ended up being, kind of the go-to tech guy for that floor because I had people actually at one point calling and asking for me. And then one day I actually spent like 45 minutes on the phone with somebody helping them hook up their home theater system, basically. Just on the phone with them, talking them through the cable connections and everything. And, things like that really kind of showed me, hey, it looks like you're better than these other people at doing this kind of thing. And there was a few different aspects of that job that leaned in that direction. And listening to that, I think, is a really big deal. Just noticing what you're good at that maybe you're better than the people around you at, and maybe that's something to look into. This job was a lot of stress because of the pressure that they put on you around being on the clock and saying these certain things, and they make you more stressed out than you have to be. The job itself is, as the day goes on, you get yelled at more and more because a technician was late or the cable was out again or whatever. The cable company typically is just not known as being a fun, it's not a good interaction usually. People don't think of it that way. But it was a short-term job for me. I think I was there, I don't remember exactly, but I would say 3 to 6 months. Like, not a long time. And I remember, what were we doing? I was somewhere in the building, and the head guy that was basically the highest guy in the building, ran into him like at a break room or the hall or something, and somehow we were talking about golf, and we just had a little quick exchange about golf and golf clubs, and it was like I was sort of on the same social plane with him in that conversation in a brief way. That those little interactions kind of remind you, like, hey, maybe I'm not like the other people in the room. I'm maybe more like this guy. And I don't know, maybe I had it in me all along and I didn't know it, or maybe I just kept looking up for something better. Right now I'm not completely sure which one is the right one, but I remember having a relationship with one of the guys that worked there that was like a little older than me and higher up, and he had experience in car audio and video and stuff, like, a lot of people in that in that kind of work. You're interested in tech, and this was the early 2000s, so Blu-ray wasn't even out yet, and car audio was really big back then. And this was the job where I got to see high definition for the first time. Like, it was a really brand new thing. And I remember we were in a training room, and there was a 42-inch plasma on the wall. I think it was a Panasonic, and it was running HD whatever feed. There were only a few channels back then, so I don't remember what it was, but I remember seeing like a long shot down a California sidewalk and just saw people sort of like in a vanishing perspective away from you. And I remember not being very overwhelmed by this new high resolution technology that I thought was going to be so great. But anyway, one other interesting thing about that time, I remember it being the time where people were turning off their cable TV and just having internet. Like, that was becoming a thing in the early 2000s, where people were trying to do more streaming kind of stuff, but it really wasn't big. There wasn't much back then. Streaming in 2004, 2003 was very, very limited, and the speeds were very low. You're talking, God, like download speeds back then, I think were like 5 meg down, maybe. Like that was I think that was like a high speed if you had 5. I think like 2 or 3 was what a lot of people had at that time. So streaming video was, pushing it. But there weren't a lot of options anyway. But I really learned a lot at that job about the technology and about the people behind the phones who are answering these calls, that are facilitating all of this work, the sales and the relaying information to the dispatchers who get to text out to do these jobs. And there were a few interesting situations on the phone. One day on the phone, there was a guy that called just to try to get help for a technician that was in the field. He said he was in a bad area, and he was calling because, the tech was like working on something like on a pole, and there was like a red blinking light. And he said there were some guys that, were kind of around him and thought that, according to him, these guys thought that blinking light was like a camera or something that were spying on these people in this kind of low-income neighborhood. Things like that are really interesting situations because, you're not really sure how to take it and what to do about it when you have never had a situation like that before. But I remember just passing it on to somebody to say, hey, this is happening. I don't know what to do about it. Look into it, because I don't have any control at that point to do anything. I don't even know where it was. I'm in one city answering phone calls for a large area. But yeah, that was one. Another interesting one was, it wasn't me, but it was the person across from me answered the phone call for a celebrity that lived like near a state nearby. And I guess I can say it was, I guess, whoever's manages this house for Sandra Bullock. They were calling from Asheville, North Carolina, and there was like wanting to get their cable, to do something to their cable subscription, But I don't know, I just thought that was really neat that to just see an interaction like that play out from that side. And there was one more similar to that near me. I don't remember who it was involved, but you hear little things like that here and there, that just little stories that kind of go around. I remember there was one of those pay-per-view fights one night. So basically, we put the screen of your account, we would put the line on there and click it to say you bought this event, and then that would send a signal to your box, and then it would come on. It was as simple as that. So I remember this guy calling in, and it was like the fight had already started. It was, I don't know, a couple rounds into it, and the guy paid for it. He added it to his account. He hung up the phone, and then seconds or minutes later. It was like right after the fight ended early, it was knockout or whatever. And so the guy near me was like, I'm not making him pay for 2 minutes or whatever. So he just went and took it back off. He was like, I don't feel like he should have to pay that. And I just thought that was really cool to to do that for the guy. Like anyone that paid to see it from the beginning, you probably feel like you didn't get your money's worth. But if you only got to see it a few minutes before the big knockout, you probably would feel kind of screwed. So I thought that was kind of cool. I'm just trying to think of more things that happened, because it was such a diverse group of people that you get to know. And I actually made a friend there when I was having a kind of a hard time in life. Not too long after this, he let me stay at his place a night here and there when I needed to. That was really cool. Not too many people you meet in your life that you actually feel like comfortable enough to say, hey, like, I need a place to stay tonight, and then it's like a safe place to be for a few hours. I really appreciate that dude. I haven't talked to him in a really long time, but yeah, I'm just trying to think. That was such a long time ago. Boy, a lot has changed in my life and in the world. That it's that may be kind of the big lesson from this story, is that you never know how the steps you're taking are going to affect the rest of your life. You never know that one interaction, one person, there's just all kinds of opportunities to go in different directions in your life, and seeing the ways to grow from it is really important. It's not often you actually see the next step forward and take it. But I remember why I left that job. I was driving there on the way, and I worked like second shift sort of, so I think I got there at like 3 p.m. And I remember I was almost there, and I started having like chest pains, kind of. And I'm like 23 years old. And when I got there, I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And came to find out there was a position open in the like IT department of the building, so it would not be a job on the phone. It would actually be working with the computer systems of the building. And I applied for that, but when I didn't get it, I was like, nope, I'm out. Like, I tried to get a different position, and that didn't work, so I'm out. And it's because of the chest pains. And they were okay with that and understood, and that was it. Trying to remember what I did after that. I don't remember how long I didn't have a job after that, but I specifically remember knowing that it was a bad... remembering that, knowing for sure that it was a bad thing. It was the it when you're driving to a job and you actually have a physical chest pains or anything like that, it's really obvious that you don't need to be there. And I was at a point in my life where I didn't have a ton of overhead. I didn't have a big house payment and all that. And I didn't have to stay there. Had a little bit of money in the bank and a cheap life, low overhead. And that gave me the freedom to not have to have chest pains driving to work anymore. So I left. And I probably could have gotten some kind of other IT job working with the company to get off the phones. But that's okay. I feel like I did the right thing for myself. And I don't regret leaving at all. And I don't regret working there. I learned a lot. You definitely find your way in life learning what you want to do, but even more so, learning what you don't want to do.